One block from Sharon. You know how to go live? Can you go live for me?
Just go live.
Okay.
Do your story.
I'm talking shit about her.
It's me now. You talking, you gotta go live. Yeah, the signs all in the joint.
You can see it.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
I
ain't care.
So I kind of
Turn the sides with appreciate that. Brock from sharing live video posts from your account have recently been removed going against our community.
Oh, that's IG. So you talking that shit?
That's crazy.
You ready?
That is
Hold on,
crazy.
I'm gonna do my intro. Hold on, y'all come. I'm about to start right now.
Starting.
What's up, everybody? This is your host, Dr. Bartu, with another episode of Dispense's Written Wednesdays, coming to you with a live audience. First time, since COVID, we couldn't do it, but tonight we coming through with that. I got a special guest, my friend, frat brother. He already been on the episode 22. You can catch him on there. There his whole background. But no more further introduction. Rodney Cloudhill. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, BlackWash. Catch me everywhere. I'm doing good.
That's what it is. That's what's up. So I invited you back on to have you speak a little more about BlackWash. A lot of people was hitting me up about it. A lot of people reached out, got the book, and people want to hear more about your perspective and really what made you came up with this idea of BlackWash.
So first and foremost, I want to thank the audience for being here. We gotta give a shout out to y'all. Clap it up for yourselves. Y'all didn't have to be here. Black excellence, Black love. But BlackWash, the untold stories of reverse racism. In this book, I created an alternate reality where now Black people are in a superior position of power to white people. However, I'm using factual events from the past in contemporary society, and I'm reversing it. So for example, instead of Africans being colonized by Europeans, now Africans are going into Europe and colonizing that. And so you know that the story, they created America off the back of chattel African slavery. Now it's Europeans that's being enslaved, and I'm taking the history and I'm reversing it from 600 years ago up into present society. So everything's being reversed. And the special thing about the book, the most important thing about the book is there's nothing in the book that's fictional. The novel has over 200 references and everything is documented. So instead of Emmett Till being a Black person being lynched and killed by malicious white people, now it's a white person by the name of an African name, and he's being lynched and being killed by some Africans. So everything's being reversed. And the reason for doing it is because I don't think people will truly understand and respect our position in life as Black people unless it happens to them. For the most part, we have some white allies, but not a lot of white allies exist. So the only way they're gonna understand our position is if they're put through it. And of course, we don't have the position of power and the want and need as Black people. I don't think we wanna put them through what we have been through. We just want equality. And that's what all our organizations, all of our groups have tried to do, from the Black Panthers to the Civil Rights Movement. We have just wanted equality, and we have been demonized for wanting that equality. So I'm putting them through the exact same stuff that we have endured here in America as well as around the world, and it's being reversed in the book, BlackWash, the Untold Stories of Reverse Racism.
All right. So you said you took 600 years of history and reversed it.
Absolutely.
All right. Where did you get your education or knowledge to do this background research, and how did you come up with this?
So I'm a sociology major. Being a sociology major, I've studied a lot of research, and I haven't, like, with the classes, they didn't focus on this history. I just took it upon myself as a Black person, and once I started realizing that we haven't been taught anything about Black history in America. They don't teach us anything outside of enslavement. We know about Harriet Tubman, we know about Martin Luther King, we know about these things, but we don't know about Queen Nzinga or Mansa Musa. We don't know about the great people who have lived in Africa prior to even being enslaved here in America. And this history is rich. This history is something that everyone should know. They teach us about Greeks, they teach us about Romans, they have classes all through high school and colleges about Greek history and Greek philosophy, but they don't teach us that. Who did the Greeks learn this stuff from? The Moors. There's so much history that Black people have taught and educated the world, because we are the original people, first and foremost. Science has proved that we're the first people to be on this earth. So of course we had civilizations and advanced societies prior to European influence, but they don't teach us anything outside of Europeans influencing us. And they erase our history when they enslaved us and when they colonized Africa. And now we have people looking up to them as if they're the ones who taught us this. So it's just sad how they did it.
All right. So my question is, where did you do your research to get this knowledge if it wasn't taught in the schools and things like that?
Oh, this research was done with books, various doctors, from John Hurent Clark to Dr. Ben, to Dr. Booker T. Coleman, to Francis Cress Welsing, to Joy DeGroy, the recent scholars like Dr. Umar Johnson and Tariq Nasheed now, who put out wonderful documentaries like Hidden Colors and other things. It's a lot of scholarly work that has put in my book. And not only did I use Black stuff, I use white stuff as well. I use history.com. I used Congress. I used the National Congress to find some of this information, because the thing is, the information is out here. The information is not like hidden from us. It's just the fact that a lot of Black people or people in general don't read. So white people are being lied to as well as Black people. It's not just a Black thing. It's like ignorance is bliss. Therefore, if you're not willing to find the information, you're not going to find it. If you're only taught that Black people were enslaved and this is where you grow up thinking, unless you have an outside way of thinking, an outside perspective, or someone to influence you on going to get more knowledge, you're not going to do it because you think it's the norm. You think it's something that it just happened. You think that we were nothing prior to African enslavement.
So you basically saying the Africans or the Americans, Black Americans here, their history books start with slavery.
Absolutely.
And move forward.
Absolutely.
And then with your book, you're actually doing a reverse teaching of history, because you are showing what Africans, Moors has done prior to that, right?
Yes. So in my book, not only am I flipping history, I do have some factual history, like the fact that we had castles in Africa prior to England having castles. There's castles in Zimbabwe. There's castles all in Africa. And they don't teach us about that. They don't teach us about the civilizations, like I said, that were advanced prior to African enslavement. And back to your question, can you repeat that so I can answer it justly?
My question was, from what you're saying, Black Americans' history started with slavery moving forward in America.
Yes.
And in your book, you said you went back 600 years.
Yes.
So that means you're doing the reverse teaching, because you're teaching through your book the history that Africans has taught or Africans have influenced, but you're using it against the Europeans?
Yes. So to answer your question, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm using actual factual events, again, like the Moors, but I also talk about Kemet or Egypt as most people know it as, but Kemet, the land of the Black people, which is now known as Egypt, I talk about the emperors and the kings and queens who have lived in Egypt or Kemet prior to, and I talk about real knowledge there, but I also flip it. So instead of Greeks invading Kemet or Egypt, what actually happened in real history, that's how Egypt got Europeanized. That's how the light-skinned Egyptians that we know now as today are there now. But Egyptians are Kemites. The original ones, the Nubians and the Cushites were actually dark-skinned Black people, darker than me. They were dark-skinned Black people who lived there. And
I actually went to Nubia and saw them, so they're actually my complexion.
Exactly. And the paintings on the wall, there's some paintings where they do have dark-skinned Black people, but they also have the paintings, and they call them hieroglyphics. But if you study this, you know that it's Metanetra. Metanetra is the original language that they spoke. Metanetra is what they called it themselves. Hieroglyphics is a Greek term for that. And these people that actually lived there were dark-skinned Black people. They built everything, the pyramids, everything. And we have History Channel and history that instead of trying to tell us that we built it, they would rather say aliens built it. They have Ancient Aliens shows like that where they try to attribute great civilizations to that the pyramids came from, were aliens that built it. That's crazy. When it's in Africa, Egypt's in Africa, and that's another thing they try to distance Egypt from Africa as if it's a separate land. But no, it's definitely in Africa. It's definitely a country there. It's just, again, it's sad that they did this to us. Question, we got a question in the audience. Do you got a?
Oh no, you can just talk.
So my question is, with the understanding that BlackWash, the untold stories of reverse racism, is the purpose of the book is to get people to understand kind of our plight.
Yes.
Through our, like, what we experience and everything.
Absolutely.
Once that understanding is met, like you feel as though everyone understands what happened, they can relate to us in that sense. What is the end goal in a sense? So once they understand us, where do we go from there? So
the end goal is the fact that no one understands us now. Again, we have few allies. We have few white people who actually study this information. And I think the white people who actually know the information, they are our allies. Those are the ones like Tim Wise and Jane Elliott and other people like them who want to help our plight. Who know that we have been systemically oppressed and white supremacy has done its best to make sure that we're misinformed, that we're not empowered, that we have no kind of social economics, that we have no unity. We have Africans who don't like Black people here in America. We have Black people here in America who don't like Africans. We have colorism amongst ourselves. I'm light-skinned, he's dark-skinned. I grew up this way. And my experience as a light-skinned brother, growing up in the hood in DC and as well as South Carolina, I got called white boy all the time. And it's like, and other things like that, where they just dig onto your complexion and they try to put you against yourselves. And this is all taught from slavery. It's all stuff that has been attributed down from that psychological impact that slavery had on us, because we can't combat, or we have never unified to combat white supremacy. And the ones who have tried have either been killed or demonized, from the Black Panthers, the Marcus Garvey to.
Trying to hit the table.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you good. But now his question was, I think you heard it, but you went in the opposite direction.
Okay.
His question was, once everybody understands the plight of the Black man, Black woman, the Black culture,
yes,
and they understand what we went through, what do you think the next step would be? What do you think the end goal?
So I think the next step would actually be changing laws. The more people are on our side and the more people who understand that white supremacy has disproportionately affected the Black community, it's more white people who actually are willing to help. Unfortunately and factually, they control the world. Point blank period. They control America and they control the world. So the more people who understand that we are being put in this position and we have this odds against us, there's more people on our side that want to change the laws, who actually want to get out here and educate and empower us. And they're also being educated amongst themselves. Because again, like I said earlier, it's not like they're being taught this information. No one knows this information unless you study it. No one knows the fact that we had civilizations, like I said, castles, and we had queens and kings unless you study it. So if white people are still being taught, today's society here in America, white people are taught the same thing we're being taught. They're being taught that we were just slaves. We're being taught that we're just slaves, but they're white. So if you're white and you're being taught that Africans that we're just slaves, automatically you have a perspective and a psychological that I'm better than this person, because they had nothing prior to us coming to their land, stealing them and taking them over here. And that's a lot of Black people would even have that sentiment.
All right, hold on.
So the end game is to change the paradigm.
Yeah, so we actually had a conversation off camera talking about the Constitution and how that during the time, like laws have been changed and amended to the times that they are in, and that we're still using a Constitution that has been written hundreds of years ago.
Absolutely.
And needs to be some type of amendment to it to make it more current to where we at. But we do have another question.
So since you were talking about things that were not being taught in schools, what are your thoughts about critical race theories now being a thing, the topic in the media?
Critical race theory, to me, it's a joke to tell us you can't teach this history because you don't want white people to feel bad about it. That's sad. That's in Germany, they teach about Hitler and the Nazis. They teach that these people were, put through the Holocaust. They were put through this this terrible experience, and thousands and millions of lives were lost to that. But also millions of lives have been lost to the slavery as well. But I'm not even talking about slavery. I'm talking about the Congolese people from the Dutch, from King Leopold. No one teaches us that King Leopold killed more people than Hitler did, killed more Africans than Hitler did. King Leopold II, that the genocide that his people did was the worst genocide ever to exist in the world, documented. Killed over 10 million people, and no one talks about that. So so critical race theory is teaching facts over emotions. You want to teach facts. You can't hide the truth. No one should want to hide the truth. And you don't have to do it in a way that says all white people are bad, or it's your people that did this, or you have to teach it just factually. There was a point in time where, yes, white people have done this. There were white people who were on our side, who were on Black people's side, because they were all throughout history. There were white people who were on our side as well. But for the vast majority of what has happened, either when no one was helping us, there's the white people that were against us, the white people who were on our side, and the white people that did nothing. So if you do nothing, then you're helping the issue. So yeah, the point of critical race theory is to teach the true history, not get rid of lynchings and get rid of slavery in America, because that's what they talk about now with critical race theory, is mainly just talking about America and how they don't want to teach these things that has happened to us, from slavery to Jim Crow to the civil rights movement to Reconstruction era, but everything should be taught.
Hold on, I got a question for you. You speak about education. What are some tools that people can use to educate themselves? What are some ideas? What are some things that they can use? Where are some places that they can go to gain more knowledge about history?
Actual books, man. People read the internet and people can put anything on the internet. If I flip the camera around, you would see I have a bookshelf with probably 50, 60 something books on it. And it's all documented research work from white people and Black people. And some of the white people who I have books from have also documented the fact that they have traveled the world and they see Black people everywhere. They have traveled the world and they have seen our civilizations and our advanced structures and the things that we have built. So again, the information is out here from books. Also, you can, like I said, the Library of Congress, the National Archives, the National Museum here in DC. There's so much information out here where it's accredited sources. And you can actually travel. That's the main thing. Actually experience places. Like my man said, he visited Egypt. He went to Kemet. He went to Kemet. I haven't even been to Kemet yet. Like, he been to Kemet, saw the pyramids, saw what we had built, saw for his own eyes. So you have to travel, experience the world, go to Brazil, So Brazil is the #1 place outside of Africa that has the most Africans in it. A lot of people don't know that, but Brazil is the place that they took the most African captives and turned them into. You have to see other places outside of America or wherever you are, because I'm sure my brother has people from London and all over on this YouTube page. So wherever you are, you have to experience other things than your circumference, your area. You have to experience other things. Got a question?
Another question.
So it seems as though you have kind of a particular outlook of what critical theory is. Separate from what you feel the current theme of critical race theory right now is, do you feel as though your book may be able to fall into that category in the sense of explaining what actually happened and just enlightening people on our history in general?
Absolutely, it does both. Like I said, everything is documented in the book, therefore, so if I'm talking about a situation or event that happened from eugenics, a lot of people don't study eugenics, a lot of people don't study Planned Parenthood, a lot of people don't know about some of the kings and queens that I talk about in the book. The fact that, so in the book, it's a fictional character or a name, but in the index, you can go to it and you can see what I'm talking about, because again, everything is being reversed. Therefore, if it's a white person who has done something unjustly to Black people in real life, now it's the reverse. Now it's gonna be an African or a Black person here in America, which in the book, America is now named Shamerica. It's being reversed on that. So in the book, it touches on knowledge, and true history is just being reversed. So yes, critical race theory and all sorts of theories are being taught in the book, from Drapetomania to post-traumatic slave syndrome. And a lot of people don't talk about the fact that no one from slavery up until now, all these families that have endured it, no one was given any kind of psychological help for this. No one was given any kind of psychological help for the trauma that they experienced. How can you put Black people in a cage and just free them and think everything is gonna be okay? Like, no, you put us in a cage. If you put a bird in a cage for the rest of their life, well, not the rest of their life, but you put a bird in the cage for 10 years and release them from the cage, they're not gonna know how to fly. They're not gonna know how to use their wings. So the psychological trauma that we have endured here in America, no one talks about that. In the book that Dr. Joy DeGroy broke down, which post-traumatic slave syndrome, and post-traumatic slave syndrome, and I'll talk about it in the book a lot, speaks on that. And so it's a lot of different concepts from critical race theory to a lot of different things that should be taught in the educational school system, and it just doesn't. Unfortunately, we don't have that.
All right.
Question.
We got another question?
Right, well,
You gotta speak a little louder though.
right, so question, but more so regards to your topics, when you're talking about the psychological aspects that slavery had on African Americans. Coming from an African like myself,
Absolutely.
I feel that Marcus Garvey's teachings in terms of Pan-Africanism
Absolutely.
would help merge both aspects, both aspects.
Absolutely.
So I think, in my perspective, having an avenue where both perspectives have a medium to speak on what affects them from a colonialism aspect, because it's somewhat similar to here in a sense, but there hasn't been an open dialogue on both aspects to merge both aspects, both perspectives. And I think this is what Marcus Garvey is getting to. And I'm honestly saying I appreciate what you're doing, brother, in terms of exploring this aspect from a different angle. And that's something that has not been done yet. And I think African teachings, what's going on in Africa, Kenya, Ghana, prominent countries per se, that are more so progressive. Because right now Africa is going through a boom. I think in their educational system, being inclusive in terms of the perspective of African Americans would be very beneficial to help increase that merging of both aspects. Because I was raised here, but I was born in Africa, and being in that family, in a household where it was a clash of cultures. Being raised in the US with parents that have an African mindset and having friends from an African American perspective, I was constantly being taught left and right. But at the end of the day, we have so many, way more similarities than differences.
Absolutely.
And this is something that our brothers and sisters here and back home need to understand.
Absolutely. Well, that's worldwide. The fact that humans in general have way more similarities than differences. We all want success for ourselves and our family, point blank period. It's just racism has divided people based on color. And if you look at the roots of racism, you know that it didn't exist at a certain point in time. There was people who lived amongst ourselves, white, black, everything, and they culturally mixed. They did everything amongst ourselves when we migrated and people lost pigmentation and we traveled the world. So to answer your question or to expound on your statements, I wholeheartedly agree. Unification is something that hasn't been done yet. It needs to be done. The question is how? I can't answer that question. I don't know how. I'm a Garvey guy. I have this symbol on me for a reason. Red, black, and green. Absolutely. And his teachings were so important during this time period alive, just to say that, yo, these people over here are our people, we are their people, we came from them. We have to unify. Pan-Africanism all the way. Unfortunately, again, white supremacy has put us against ourselves. They teach us here in America, Africa has nothing to offer. Commercials are just coming out about Africa being, as advanced as it is in certain places like Nigeria, Ghana, and all over Africa. There's plenty of places that have modern day things and technology, but even still today, like, it's not a tourist attraction for people outside of the intelligent mind.
With the tourism, it's places in Africa that I have to go to, that I want to go to. But I know for me, I know it's gonna look way different from what I've seen as a kid. You know what I mean? Like as a child, they give you the image of
Starving black kid, starving African kid, feed this nigga for 10 cents a day.
starving kids. I'm not laughing at the starving kids, y'all. I'm laughing at this guy.
Nah,
But they had images of kids starving, huts and things like that. But you actually do your research and look into Africa. It's places that's way more advanced than some cities and towns that's in the United States. And it's like, yo, I need to go to these places. These are the tourist attractions. And just like the Caribbean islands, some of these places are and have become tourist attractions.
Absolutely.
That's causing people to come there, that is causing the economy to go up, that is causing more building and more like advancement. So like it's way better than what people imagine.
Definitely, and I'll speak back to what you were saying. Because you said specifically that it's intellectuals per se that are open to it. But if you see what the movement is happening now, we are a rhythmic musical people, both here and back home. So with that being said, if you can see what's going on in terms of artists going back home and having an influence or being interested in Afrobeats in a sense, because let's be honest, African Americans are the most emulated people on the whole planet.
Right? Planet.
Hip hop, music, rhythm, that comes from back home as well. So that is the sense of our culture as well. Like, so I had a discussion with my cousins back home. They're trying to be entrepreneurs. They're trying to build like a clothing store per se, right? And Ankara clothing, which I'm sure you're familiar with Ghana and the print and so forth. So I suggested them, you know what? This is something I randomly did. Go to Google, go to any African country and type in cultural print of Cote d'Ivoire, of Ghana, of Kenya. And you can go, you see pictures, image of the village-based aspects of music, of the art, of the culture. There's similarities, but very different. But it's very musically oriented, very expressive from artistic aspect. And that's who we are. And I think finding that semblance, that balance, the similarity, I think it comes from that standpoint first. Because outside of making things so complicated from this is where we come from or our past histories, it's come from a very common denominator. Very simple aspect. And that's where it comes from. Like musically first, let's come together like we are now. Like
I got a question for you.
Yes.
You said born in Africa, raised in America, African parents, American friends. What were the differences that you faced?
The differences that I faced.
Yeah, the mental differences. You said you was basically American because you grew up here, but you had African parents that taught you African ways.
Right.
But then as soon as you walk outside, you have the American culture.
Right.
That looked at you as just a black man.
Right.
So what was your conflicts that you had to go through?
My conflicts, I would say initially, because of obviously when I was young, I had this very strong African influence. It was a sense of expectations I had from my parents from a very early age.
Doctor, lawyer,
engineer, all of that. Exactly.
Doctor, lawyer, engineer.
Really strong.
Yeah, it was very strong from an early age.
That was it.
Right? And I didn't realize how fortunate I was to have that sense of pressure until maybe like 8th grade, getting into high school, and then being around some of my African American friends that weren't fortunate enough to have that. You know, some came from broken homes. Not to say that that's not present in the African sense, but you know, we are in a land that definitely isn't ours.
Yeah.
So it's for me, I had to realize that I had to come at approaching my perspective from a diplomatic aspect. From a standpoint, I have to respect the history that our people here came from. And that's something I feel like some Africans can't really wrap their mind around. You have to understand 400 years of segregation and what that does to you mentally on a generational aspect, right? But again, it falls on deaf ears at sometimes.
We get you on. You coming up.
You falls on deaf ears at times. So I feel like those simple conversations will open up doors for open dialogue.
So the conflicts you felt were,
My conflicts.
yeah,
I think he was easily able to navigate between those
I
conflicts.
was, because I came from a very young age. I was able to double dutch in between both
Yeah.
because I understood.
Yeah.
It's not like I came here when I was like 15 or when I was already into myself or I grew into myself. I came in when I was like 3, 4 years old. I was young, you know. So my conflicts, I really can't say that they were very present per se, but it was all inclusive. Like it was very involving in terms of my experiences. So
I want to get back to something I said earlier when we were talking about starving African children, and I said niggas. The only reason why I said that is because people act like Europe has no poverty. There is countless poverty in Europe. There is countless starving people in Europe, and there's actually more jungle in Europe than there is in Africa as well. So, you know, that's a joke that they say towards us. We came from the jungle, but there's more grassland in Europe than there is in Africa.
well, so we got another question right here. She was holding this question
All
since-
night, all night.
before the conversation that was on camera, but
Shout out, where you from?
Hi, I'm from Ghana.
Ghana.
So I actually relocated to the US at the age of 18. And I feel like I have a very unique perspective that I share with a lot of Africans of similar descriptions, and they were adults before they moved to the US. And first of all, I think that there isn't a seamless transition from Africa to the US, because the first thing that happens when you move here is if you're educated, people start asking you why you sound white. And I think that is one of the strangest things to ask somebody who just stepped onto America.
Yeah.
And it very much immediately positions you as an outsider because you immediately can't identify with the African American community. So that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect is the work ethic. I think that, trying to word this properly, I think that what I have noticed since being here, you know, going to school, I went to Howard, and I was surrounded by a lot of educated Black Americans, but the more I divulge from that specific type of identification of educated Black people, the rest kind of create a sadness in me because I don't know how to address it. I immediately feel sad. I have a lot of mixed emotions towards how African Americans, especially the underprivileged African American community, portray themselves. And when it comes to your book, I'm quite interested to see how that is supposed to bridge the gap between African Americans and Africans who have come here, like the situation I described before.
I got something to say about that though, real quick.
You want
Now, I
to
just
go
talked
first?
about her, yeah.
Okay.
About her being saying that the work ethic, right? I remember talking to a Caucasian gentleman, like, yo, I'm starting my logistics business. And he was like, yo, make sure you focus in on hiring Africans because they'll work for you. Like they'll work well for you. I laughed.
I laugh too.
But then I started to look around me and I was like, everyone here is African, but me. But they probably thought I was African by my name, but I was just like, oh, that's really your mindset. Like he really looked at that, and then you just said it like the work ethic. So he probably really thought about that and was like, yo, this is the type of people that I want to hire, and kept it going. And like overlooked the people that were here or the, you know, ethnic names. And he probably like, oh, nah, I don't want that. That's an American, blah, 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 blah.
it's extremely separated. I will say that a lot of African communities within America are very tight-knit. Like, we've learned to keep to ourselves because it just works better that way. Honestly, it's kind of sad because I think part of our whole discussion here as educated Black people is let's lift each other up. Let's educate people that's not in our immediate communities. Let's learn about each other. Let's grow together. But at the end of the day, we don't like each other and we don't necessarily respect each other. So how are we?
Can I talk now? Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right. So I want to talk about stereotypes versus reality. The concept and the perspective that's saying that Black people here are lazy. I know that's not all Black people that you're saying that, but it's like that's the reality or the perspective that some white people have towards us. It perpetuates into that society, and that's because it's taught to us. And that's like saying that everyone in Africa is not, that everyone in Africa is
A starving Black child.
no, exactly, starving Black child.
Yeah.
Or everyone in Africa is successful. That's the same reality. That's the reason a lot of people can't unify. Unfortunately and sadly for you, you came here and you experienced, like you said, I came here and I sound white. Therefore, why do you sound like a white person as an African person? But that's ignorance. So they perpetuated that ignorance onto you, Black people did, for your voice and how you carry yourself, and they associate that with white.
But do you want to know the ironic thing? It was a lot of Black people that said that to me.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That was Black people that perpetuated that perspective towards you because it's ignorance. So the ignorance works both ways. That's that divide and conquer that I was talking about earlier. How can they divide us from the Africans in Africa, and how can they make us feel, well, how can they make you feel the exact same way? So you have some people, I hope you don't look at Black Americans as inferior, but I do know some Africans who do think Black people are inferior. Some Nigerians who literally, based on what we have been through in our experience here, they look at us as inferior. Is that a totality thing? Is that all Nigerians? Absolutely not. I'm not saying that by any default, but the experience that Black people have had here in America is different from Africa based on, we have a society that was built solely around white supremacy, right? Here in Africa, you can walk outside, you can see everyone who looks like you. Everyone looks like you. They speak your same language. They practice your same culture. They do everything similar to you. You have those successful, you have those who aren't successful, but everyone, or the vast majority, looks like you. Black people here in America only make up 14% of this country. So we have a dominant force, 57, I think it's like 57, 58% white people here in America. So whatever they put out about us, the propaganda that they spread on us sticks because we're the minority. So automatically from the start, and again, you teach society that the most successful people here are only white. So to say, or to have that perspective that Black people are lazy, that's not the words you use, but I'm gonna lump that into that that perspective. That's like saying the Black person who invented heart surgery never existed. The Black person who invented the microchip never existed. Black people invented almost fucking everything that existed, from slavery up until now. George Washington Carver, who discovered what? The vast majority of what you can do with different plants, and he was a botanist. and just discovered all sorts of medicinal uses for plants. And these are Black Americans. So I think people with that perspective is just, it's based on the dominant society telling you that these people are lazy, therefore you ignore the people who aren't. I'm a Black American. I was born here, raised here. I own my fucking house. I worked my ass out for this house. I got out of my hood. I was always in the hood and growing up. Hood in DC, hood in South Carolina. Got out. And we work. And there's people who work.
Can I, sorry, go ahead.
Just one thing. All stereotypes is based off of a small group that people take and they try to spread it amongst the masses. But as you can tell, this is a house full of educated Black people right here that's doing major things. We got, I don't know everybody's profession, but we got people that's with degrees, entrepreneurs, everything that's in this house right now. So yeah, people might stick stereotypes on you, but long as you don't live or perpetuate that stereotype, you gotta just kind of let it roll off your back and just show people by experience or show people by like doing that you're better than what they assume you are. Like, don't fight back, just show them.
Amen. Yeah.
Absolutely. I disagree with your first statement on that though. That stereotypes are perpetuated by a small group. That's what
I say stereotypes are a small group. Like, they're seen in a small group. Like, it might be a small group of Black people that were lazy. Something. And they're like, oh, now all Black people are lazy. And it's like, no.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just them over there. I'm working hard over here.
I thought you said that stereotypes are perpetuated by small groups of people.
No.
But no, sorry.
I just want to offer to the viewers watching and everyone here that something that kind of hits home on this particular segment of the conversation that I want to point out and bring to light in the attempt to empower everyone, not just Black people, but everyone, is that it's power in the tongue. So everything that we speak and everything that we practice on a normal daily basis, everything that we think becomes fruition. Like, you literally, every idea, everything that's made this table was a thought. Like, so it's whatever you speak and whatever you think is what becomes. And then two, I want to offer that in the example of your experience when you said like you came here and like one of the first things that you hear is that you sound white because that you were educated and you spoke proper and the way you carry yourself. I think that a lot of Black people specifically have to weaponize the fact that it's just power in how we react to things. So using that as an example, and I'm pretty sure just by the way you carry yourself here, that you probably weaponized it very well and used it as a catapult to push yourself forward. But as a culture, we have to take these stereotypes that are placed against us and literally weaponize it to say, kind of what Bartu was speaking on, and say, okay, well, let me show you the opposite. And let me prove to you, not really prove to you, because I don't want to give people power that don't deserve it, but I want to show you by example and by action that you're wrong. And the more that we can do that, one, the more society moves forward, and two, the more I think we kind of get our footing and get our power back. So I just wanted to offer to everyone watching, just be a person that practice proving someone wrong and utilizing what someone may think against you negatively as fuel to your fire and to push forward with that.
That is beautiful.
Dope.
Yeah.
I have one follow-up statement before I left, really quickly.
All right.
So what I'm hearing is a lot of the experiences that we have are based on our education and also our background. So
Opportunities.
and opportunity, exactly.
Hands down.
So when I look at the education system back home in Ghana where I grew up, right, we learned about slavery very limitedly, right? So coming to America and seeing it as a topic of conversation in almost every conversation I have with the African American. Is there like a word of advice or something that you can say to speak to that? Because I think that that's one of our biggest disconnects, is the fact that people raised in Africa versus African Americans, our perspective towards that are very different.
Yeah.
Back home, we're taught, hey, we rose from colonization and we're strong and we're this and we're that. So when we come and we meet all these opportunities, we look at everyone else as like, why aren't you taking these opportunities? So it's hard to marry the two experiences together with the education and the background and then the opportunity. So what do you have to say towards that?
I'll say one thing on that real quick. It's hard to, for some people, it's hard to see those opportunities when it becomes their norm, right? Because you can grow up and you're like, okay, yeah, I know I can go to college. I know I can do this. But you look around and nobody else is doing it around you. So your norm is knowing that there is an opportunity, but believing that you can't achieve it. Like you coming in here with that mindset of like, oh, we overcame colonization. You coming in with the mindset of like, oh, when I get there, I know I'm gonna be great. There's people here that's been here their whole life and they have a mind state that's like, oh yes, I can do that, but that's not for me. Or I don't wanna look, like we talked about education. Like I know people that was in school that was smart. You like, yo, why you not doing the work? Man, that's corny, that's whack. I don't want to be that guy that's the smart one in the class. You were like, what's wrong with that? But a lot of people don't think like that. They want to fit in. Sometimes standing out makes you fit in, because as you get older, you'll realize that putting that work in, then you're advancing. And when you go back home, you see the people that didn't put the work in and they're looking at you like a hero, like, oh man, you made it out. You did good. You know what I'm saying? So I just think a lot of people see opportunities so much that they don't even see that it's an opportunity. Let's say like, now I remember I had a conversation with someone yesterday about the stock market. And I'm like, yo, I remember being an undergrad and hearing about a gentleman who knew how to trade stocks in undergrad. And he was right there beside me all the time. I didn't take that opportunity to learn it at that time. Now I had to wait years and I'm in that opportunity come back to now I'm learning about it quicker and faster. But like you see the opportunity so much that you just take, like, you don't even pay it any more attention.
So to expound on what you said, first I would want to ask you, what was your parents' occupation? So what kind of household did you grow up with to be empowered to get in a better position in life than some Africans and African Americans?
I think by all standards, it was very disadvantaged, but I think that's what motivated me. So
Okay.
I don't necessarily understand how that disadvantaged mindset within America cannot motivate people.
What was their position? What were their occupations?
My mom was a stay-at-home mom,
And your father?
was not there.
Your father wasn't there, your mother was a stay-at-home mom. How did you get to America?
Luck.
Luck. Okay. So that was one of my, I guess, bounce backs to ask her a follow-up question on her experience. Another one would be, because she said, how could, I guess what Africans would, how would Africans, I guess, realize or know, I'm not sure how you put it, but I would say study the time periods from slavery to Jim Crow to Reconstruction to civil rights to present day society. Unfortunately, here in America, again, and here in where you grew up was Africa, you said that they only taught you some small portion of slavery, right? Did you learn about Jim Crow at all?
No.
So, and here in America, we don't learn about Jim Crow. We don't even learn about Jim Crow. So slavery ended 300 years ago, right? Or roughly, 400, 300 years ago, 1600s, boom. After slavery ended, there was another period of time called Jim Crow. Jim Crow was literally black codes against us, like South Africa, for example. You're in Africa, South Africa was apartheid. It was the exact same things of apartheid, other than, I think what was worst about Jim Crow, they could kill you for being outside. If they found you outside from after the street lights cut on. That's where that saying even came from. And black people know this growing up in America. Don't let me catch you outside before them or after them street lights come on.
It was sundown time.
No.
When the sun goes down.
No,
But that's
when the street light come on, Walter.
So growing up, it's like don't be outside, like don't be outside, don't let the street light reach you.
I hear both sides. I hear what he's saying because sundown towns existed prior to the street lights existing. Tomatoes. But so slavery happened, 1600s. I think it's 1685 or something like that. I don't know the exact date right now. Slavery ended.
Happened.
Google it.
I'm weak.
Continue your point.
You don't get a point before you.
No.
Continue your
No,
point.
no. Slavery ended. No. I don't wanna
But
mix
slavery kind of
quotes.
ended twice.
1865. Sorry.
It kind of ended twice. Because slavery ended when the law was signed,
No.
but it was a city in Texas that didn't end 3
No.
years later.
Yeah.
Juneteenth.
Yeah. But Juneteenth is still not the original slavery ended there. That's another topic for a different discussion. Slavery supposedly ended in 1865. That's why I wanted to backtrack what I said, because after I said it, I'm like, that's not the correct date. I had the numbers flipped. I said 1685 is 1865. From slavery ending, we had another like 80 years of Jim Crow. Again, Jim Crow is, we couldn't be educated. We could not participate in the same laws and have the same opportunities as white people. So as an African or even an African American, they teach us slavery ended and the civil rights period happened, and we just all got along. We just all got equality. No, from slavery to Jim Crow to Reconstruction, civil rights era, and that's what, 1965, something like that. We had these laws against us, not just people against us, actual laws that did not allow us to participate in these same opportunities as white people. So it's.
But my argument is today it's different, right? Today is it? I mean, certain aspect, especially with the internet and social media, there's a lot more connectivity and ability for people to help each other in the African American community.
Yes.
But we're just not doing that. Why?
But back to what I said earlier, saying that is acting like Chocolate City never existed. There's Black people, so many Black people that's successful in Washington, D.C., so many Black people that are successful in Atlanta, so many Black people. There's Black people that are successful everywhere. And when I'm talking about Black people, I'm specifically talking about Black Americans when I say it like that right now. And to say that still speaks on, if I was to say that everybody in Africa is starving child, everyone in Africa is, the stereotype.
Hold on. Is your question saying why aren't Black people taking more advantages of the things that we have?
It's a mixture of that and also saying that I think there needs to be a way to merge the two experiences, because when we look at colonization in Africa, for example, Ghana was and did not gain its independence since 1957. And in that 50 years, it grew so much in their pride and their work ethic versus, African American, where that happened in 16 or 1800 or whatever, right? I understand the struggles and the forces that are against African Americans are consistent even today. But my question is the mindset behind it. I think that what I see as somebody who grew up in Africa and came here and saw opportunity, I think a lot of what I hear, and excuse me, a lot of people may not agree with me, is excuses.
I can see that.
I think it's
So,
fear.
I'm about to say
what
one
are
thing.
those excuses to the Africans who are still stuck in their, I guess, to quote Donald Trump, shithole country?
Opportunity.
So how is that not the same thing for the African Americans here?
No, she's saying
More
there aren't
opportunity
I
that many
hear exactly
opportunities
what
in Africa, but in America, we have so many opportunities that she looking at it like, why aren't you guys taking advantage of those opportunities? In Africa, they don't have that many opportunities.
I think
And
that
that's why you
goes
see a lot of
to,
Africans come here, and that's like you said, the African, the
Mhm.
doctor, it's almost like, okay, this is the set path, this is what gets you
Mhm.
success, do it.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously, we all know there's different paths to success, but
Mhm.
why is there
Absolutely.
such a divide in our mentality towards I can succeed, this is an opportunity, I'm going to take it, I'm going to make it.
I got an example. I got one example.
speak to that.
Let me speak to this real quick. So again, you come from the mindset that you're taught you're nothing. In Africa, again, you grow up around everyone who looks like you. So you're not teaching people that look like you that you're nothing. That goes into your willpower. That goes into your empowerment, saying I can be a better person. But if you have a society teaching you that you are nothing, that sticks to your willpower. Yes, you're gonna have sums and twosies and onesies who make it out this situation, who lack the opportunity and still make it out this situation. But for the overall majority, or I can't even say the overall majority because there's no statistics saying who made it out and who didn't make it out right now. But to the ones you're talking about who don't make it out and still have the ability to make it out based on the opportunities that are around them, whether they're in the hood, but they still have opportunities around them because they're in America.
In this day and age.
Agreed. Still that willpower, that mentality plays that factor that I think a lot of Africans don't have to deal with.
So how do we bridge that gap?
I think
Education.
So I think I want to highlight that the position you're making, I personally agree with, but I think that that's something that's very hard to
Understand.
not understand, but it's hard to quantify, to
Yeah.
put it on paper.
Yeah.
This is why this is happening, because that's more so a mental, emotional response,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
But to maybe offer something that is easier understood or easier received, we have to realize that just slavery, civil rights movement, all of that was 70 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So one, I will attest to the fact that you said Ghana has grown so much since they have been liberated, right? And got their independence. That is very apparent here in America as well, that we have grown, right?
Exactly.
But the thing that I will say, I'm not personally educated enough to say it's not present there in Ghana, but I am educated enough to say that it is present here in America, is that there are still laws in place and there are still practices that happen on a daily basis here in America that literally hinder you from progressing the way you should. And so you have it in a place where it's like law, like you have it where it's forced in a sense, but then you also have to realize as well, just other points that were made previously in the conversation. For example, one, education. So a lot of people aren't aware of the opportunities that are here. So from the outside looking into the bubble, you see those opportunities. You're like, yo, it's opportunities everywhere. Why you're not using them, right? But people here don't know that. Some of them don't, which is unfortunate. It's I can see how you say it's an excuse, but it's also the truth. You can go to the hood right now and ask someone, do they know anything about the first time buyer loan to buy a house? And they don't know it, right?
Synergies, like
Google.
Right. So yes. So no, it's not even that. It's not even that. Yes, that is the thing.
what's the percentage of poverty in Ghana?
Wait,
Sorry.
please let me finish, guys. Please let me finish.
Sorry.
And I don't mean to take this stance in the sense of like I'm arguing with you. This is just trying to present these things for a better understanding of everyone's side. But a perfect, like I hear that you said Google, right? Like the information is there, but if you don't know that it exists, you don't know to look it up. So for example, you have African Americans who are in poverty in the hood, right? And they've never seen wealth. They've never come in contact with wealth. They've never like the only like representation of wealth to them is the dream of a rapper or the dream of an athlete that gets rich, right? So if you don't have those talents in your head, because it's systematic, you know, so you're conditioned to think this way. In your head, there's no other out but that, right? So you don't know to say, okay, well, I don't have those talents. Let me Google literally what are other ways to be rich. Because in your head, you don't know that there's other ways to be rich. You're literally hand-fed every single day when you turn on the radio, when you go to school, when you look on TV, all you are fed is that you can only be rich if you're an athlete or you're a rapper or you're a stripper or like these other things that you're not doing. So when that's presented, oftentimes, and I'm 100% sure that's not your plight in this conversation, but oftentimes when that's presented to people who kind of do understand that there's other ways out and do understand that there's 1,001 opportunities around us, when you present that to them, a lot of times the lens is that that's bullshit or that's an excuse when that's actual reality. Like you can literally go to the hood right now and take a young African-American person and tell them that Google exists, not literally, but tell them like, you know, there's ways for you to get out of this and their minds will be blown. Their whole life will change and they'll get out. But it's so many people, and I mean vast majorities, that don't even know success exists outside of the things that they're fed on an everyday basis. And it's sad because I think a lot of us, or I would go on this hill, die on this hill and say that majority of us may not have wasn't spoon-fed success, but we had that innate kind of thing to say, well, I'm gonna figure it out and I'm gonna try to find success, whatever it may be for myself. But the vast majority has been robbed of just an imagination or anything enough to say, yo, I want to be better, or I want to do better, or I want to see better. Like you have people like who are on the block every day that all they know is the kingpin, the drug dealer is the only way of success, and that's all they know. And they're like, I don't want to be a drug dealer, but I have literally no other way to get a car or to get a chain, you know what I'm saying, or to buy a house, or success for them. You know, like success for them is literally the drug dealer.
So moving forward, do you think that as an African-American community, we've created a space where we're not going to live in that stationary stage anymore? Do you feel like there's actually enough activity happening to bring people who are in that disillusioned mindset out of it to understand that there's opportunity?
I personally don't agree. Oh, go ahead.
I'm about to say yes. We have technology. Oh yeah.
Wait, listen, but we got to follow on this. This is great.
I'm gonna just say yes. Short answer, yes, with technology. But we had a question.
Before we jump to the question.
No, my man been patiently waiting.
My bad. I do got that.
Hey, I ain't never seen nobody with this much patience in my life. You've been patiently waiting.
Jalen, you're not that patient, bro. I don't think so.
Hold on, no.
Revisit that question later.
We will get back
later.
But my man.
Do we need to turn it?
All right, I already turned this. They stopped smoking the hookah. I turned to it, so now it's surround sound. Right? Good.
So this really goes into what I kind of wanted to segment into was like the education inequality. For example, when you were saying, man, you have homies in college who was talking about investing. How old were y'all when y'all first heard of the term investment?
College.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say I probably was younger than that because I grew up not investment in the term of like stock market, but
So,
investing in
yourself or some shit like that.
investing to make money. So I was around people that was investing.
So when I feel like for a lot of Black people, when I say Black people, talk about African Americans, Black people living in America, our parents, our families say invest, but they never go in depth and say, what does that mean? They always say save. When we were younger, we thought about invest. Oh, you gotta save money. Saving money is all good, but you're not ever gonna, grow that exponentially until you actually invest into real things.
Yeah.
So that leads me to an example. So I'm 26. I literally just started investing, as in like getting into stocks and stuff. This trading group that I'm in, right? blew my mind. I saw thousands of people making money every single day. I'm like, wow, y'all are doing this. Y'all are younger than me. Prime example, white kid, grew up in wherever he was at in America, definitely wasn't the hood. You know, he was definitely not in an inner city or rural high school or anything. And I was asking, I was like, yo, how did you get put on this? And his answer was, yeah, my parents told me to sign up for this trading class at my high school. What school do you know offers a trading class as an elective in any of the schools that we attended or had access to? Probably none, right? So that leads me to the statement of our inequality, thanks to redlining of school districts and things of that nature. Can you expand upon how that plays directly to our success? Because just like the brother said, you know, if you're in the hood and you're growing up thinking, oh, all you can do is, you know, I'm about to hit the block, I'm about to spin the block, blah, 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 I'm about to sell this, I need to get this chain, all this other stuff. That's your only means of success, having quick cash right then and there. But on the other side of town, across the tracks, that don't have to worry about sundown towns, they're thinking about, all right, well, look, my mom's giving me a $50 allowance every week. Let me go ahead and invest this, not in a savings account, but into actual stocks. We didn't know anything about going to a stock market. I thought that having a stock was you had to go make some huge ordeal, see a lawyer, or something crazy like that. You know, meanwhile, they're making money hand over fist. So can you talk to how inequality in our education system and how towns, communities have sectioned us off into low budget education systems that directly hinder us as Black people from seeing the stuff that you can Google, saying how to invest or seeing how to make a mutual fund, how to invest in the Gerber life, just regular crap like that, you know? Can you talk to how that has held our people down and how that is an opportunity seen by people who migrate here from other countries and they already know this because they see us as a land of opportunity. But in turn, in reality, our only real opportunity is to make it just for ourselves and not just trying to create generational wealth. Before you do answer, another quick question. Rodney, how many people in your family own homes? Or how old were they when they were able to buy homes? You know, if you go,
my mother bought a home at a young age.
Like, so, but what I'm saying is a lot of Black people, they struggle because, for one, credit scores were struggling. You know, not everybody was fortunate enough to, you know, understand how to build credit. And then when you do build credit, then the first thing people want to do is, you know, buy expensive cars, this and that, the third. Their car note costs more than their rent, you know? So can you expand on that?
I think you said the key thing there, which is generational wealth. We lack tremendously generational wealth. The other thing would tie into education. We lack generational wealth plus education. You also talk about, you said something about putting us into communities where we couldn't buy houses, that would go back into redlining, which we expounded upon our first time talking. We talked about redlining.
Episode 22.
You know the episode's about heart, brother. Episode 22, redlining. And that goes back to a law that I was saying how Black people in America had actual laws against us in opportunities, creating generational wealth, whereas in Africa, you probably didn't have these laws that were strictly put upon against us based on our race. Here in Africa, everyone's Black, and the vast majority is Black, so you're not going to treat, you know, you're not going to create a law where it hinders your own people. Here in America, they created laws that hindered their own people, redlining being one of them. We could not buy houses outside.
Bro, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We did not create the law to hinder our own people. They created those laws to hinder our people. I got you.
I said that?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. I know you didn't mean
I apologize. Thank you for clarifying.
I got to jump in here real quick. So my understanding of your question is
Bang, bang. Keep going.
But my understanding of your question is like the kids learning information, learn how to trade, learn how to invest. Like kids that's from the hood or things like that, their parents didn't know, and their parents didn't know, so they didn't know. And the guy that you talked about, the white guy, his parents knew, which put him on at a younger age, which if he has friends, he probably gonna put them on because that's his core group of friends. Right? So the information that we are learning now, a lot of people had years in advance. Their fathers knew, their grandfathers knew, and they put that into effect. So then when their child was at an age to understand it, they were given to it. We are at the age where we are in our 20s and 30s, and finally the world has opened up to us for this advancement, for this investment, my bad. Both of them. Opportunities.
Yeah.
Like I just said earlier, how I knew that the guy did trading, but my mindset was like, let me ask him to trade for me. Let me instead of saying, hey,
I can do it myself.
teach me the craft. Like, because I can get you to trade for me all day, every day.
Yeah.
And then the moment that you stop, my well has run dry. Like, I don't know the craft. I can't take that on anymore. I can't teach nobody else. So now with technology, with podcasts, like Pill Talk Podcast, you can catch me every Monday at 6, or Dispenses with at 9:30 p.m. You can catch me. But with podcasts like this right here, we're able to let people know how they could invest on Dispenses written on the first and third Wednesdays with me, Terry. I'm serious. Or the second and fourth Wednesday for Dispenses written, when I talk to medical providers and entrepreneurs, because I sit down and talk with people and ask them how they got this information. What are they doing with it? How they impacting people's lives? Because now I'm able to sit down, I'm having conversations with my friends. He's like, oh, I'm in the Forex. Oh, you in the Forex? Well, right now I'm into the stock market, but I do buy and hold. I don't do trading. I want to learn that.
Yeah.
Okay, what you do? Oh, somebody's like, yo, I know how to buy a house for the cheap, and I know where to find it at, and I know how to market it so that way I can move forward with it. You know what I'm saying? But that's where we're at right now.
Another thing that Drew was talking about like, you know, you see people that look like us trying to make it out of the hood and stuff like that. And the lady here was saying, you know, why are y'all not taking these opportunities? Do you think that our music culture has something to play with that? Speaking in terms of, you know, our favorite rappers, you know, you got your trap rappers, you got your young boy people talking about, oh, I'm about to zip somebody up, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, all that sounds good and dandy, but they are directly contributing to our rates of people going to jail because they think that's cool, versus having somebody to say, hey, you can listen to this all day that you want, but that's not reality.
I'm gonna say this right here. That just falls back into the thing of influencers, right? Every influencer has a niche. Like if you you get on Instagram, you find some influencers, their thing is the stock market. You find some influencers, podcasting. You find some influencers, twerk videos. You know what I'm saying? So the people that listen to the things get influenced by those things. Now, if you catch your nephew, your niece listening to certain music and things, you just stop asking them, hey, what else are you interested in? What else do you know? What else makes you happy? Because that person may only be into that thing because that's something that someone else showed them that they were into. So they think that's the cool thing, or that's the only thing to give them some type of conversational piece. You know what I'm saying?
To kind of bring it full circle, this brother here said, how do you feel about kind of an example of, you know, what the mainstream influencers are, i.e. rappers, you know, rapping about drugs and selling dope and, you know, degrading women and going to prison and all that stuff, right? And I want to tie that into the comment made by the young lady previously who said, or she asked, do any of us feel as though that there is enough African-American people or Black people in general succeeding in taking that information and giving it back to our people? And I think that you made a comment and said that you do agree that it's enough and it is enough to cultivate it. The point that I wanted to make was that I actually disagree. And the only reason I disagree is because, yes, there are a plethora of outlets for Black people to use to advance our culture. But when I say a plethora, it's a plethora once we have tapped into that well. Once we have found that vein, it can extract that blood to flow into us. But mainstream, or big picture, the amount of people that are influencers in a positive way, in a sense, or that are actually teaching our culture how to expand, that is very minute to any of the media and propaganda that's out here, period. So when we have, like, just for example, HBCUs were founded to cultivate Black culture and Black excellence to push our culture forward. When you say how many people attend those schools, right now it's more now than it's ever been in history. But guess what? That's still a very minute number to how many schools or universities even exist. And then you ask a Black person who may have come from a town that there's not a lot of HBCUs there, or they're not very privy to HBCUs, and they wouldn't even know what an HBCU is. And you look at them and say, wow, you're a Black person that was made for you. You're supposed to be attending those type of schools to get this culture, and they don't even know anything about it. And that's not that's a majority for Black people more than it is a minority. So I think there is not enough outlets, and the outlets that do exist do not have nearly enough impact or reach. I would say reach, more importantly. They do not have enough reach for our culture to take us to where we should be yet. And I'm big yet. We're getting there.
Let me answer this question real quick before we wrap this up. To answer your question, I do think so. Why? Because the number one business owners in America are starting business is Black women. Like, when I get on social media, I don't know what you guys follow. All I see is positivity. I see people preaching about trading, people preaching about self-improvement, public speaking. I see podcasts that's touching people in a positive light. So it's all about what you tune into, right? So that might be what you see when you get on social media and stuff like that. But my influencers, the people that I see, the people that my mind works around, are the people that's going in a certain direction.
How many people from the Black community know that African American women are the number one business starters in America right now? Not many, not nowhere near the majority.
But
that's what we want.
The only thing that can help spread the word is if you know, tell somebody.
Yeah, this is what we're doing right now. Absolutely, I agree with that. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, my opinion, I don't feel like we're there yet to where it's impacting us as nearly as much as it could. But I definitely think, and I'm proud to say that we're definitely on the right trajectory and we're getting there. So, just want to
dope. But man, this has been like a great conversation. So good that in the middle of the podcast, Rodney sold 2 books and making some autographs.
That's beautiful.
Like,
That's beautiful.
Man, I'm gonna take my little 10%. Hey, all right, bro. But I just want to let y'all know this was another good episode.
Whoa, I want to expound upon something that you didn't touch in your answer. He talked about the music industry, and you never said anything about the music industry.
Because I clumped it in as influencers.
I would like to say the fact that the music industry is majorly owned by white people. So white people own the corporations that we rap. We talk about killing ourselves. We talk about destroying ourselves, self-destructive music. That is purposely done. And they purposely are signing people who talk about the same music, or either telling them to talk about this music.
And paying them for
and paying them to make self-destructive music. So if you talk about,
but there are conscious music out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you gotta make sure there's 2 sides to the coin. It is.
I never said that. I listen to conscious music all the time.
Because they are
J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, all these.
J. Cole.
Absolutely. I love hip hop. That's what I call hip hop. Actual conscious music. I call that other shit bubblegum rap. And what I'm saying is, we talk about the individuals, but if you offer, like, say you rapping, and anyone comes up to this, a corporation comes out to this rapper that's rapping, struggling all his life, and say, I offer you $1 million if you do the same shit, or you talk about this on this level, of course, you're gonna take that money. because you're not thinking about, oh, this music is gonna be self-destructing for my Black community. This
one
music
less
is gonna
influencer that's gonna help out success.
exactly.
To lead somebody there.
So you have these corporations just on that point that he was talking about the music, just music in general. That's what I wanted to talk about because I didn't hear you expound
I
on
think
that.
too, before you start rapping it, is kind of what Rodney was talking about was like the music industry. Yeah, you see, you got Moneybagg Yo, you got all these big time rappers, that are flaunting all their jewelry, this and that, the third. And just like Drew, the brother back here was saying, if you growing up in a inner city hood type area, all you seeing is people with success on the radio. What radio station you listen to? Probably hip hop.
Yeah.
You're gonna listen to, shake that ass, blah, blah, I'm gonna zip somebody, blah, blah, blah. And then you watch your favorite NFL basketball star and they walking out, they got nothing but jewelry on. That's fine and dandy because they can do that.
Yeah.
And they have money that they can throw away. If they lost $10 million, they wouldn't blink an eye. But you got to think about what is this music doing directly to affect our youth right now, because they listen to it and the coolest thing they're hearing is how somebody can drop a verse on how they kill somebody. Oh, that's cool. I ain't never heard that before. But when you think about it, it's the same thing going back and forth. And the only thing that they're exalting is getting money fast and hurting somebody, killing somebody. Oh, I spent such and such in the pen. You ain't never been there. That's not cool, bro. Like nobody has, nobody's wanting to go to jail for just to sound cool type shit. So where I was trying to get was, what can we tell our youth that don't have people like us that they directly look up to hey, there's other outs to this. There's other ways to, make a better life for yourself. What can we do to push podcasts like these? What can we do to give our people, our youth, resources to change their path or alter their way going forward?
So representation and mentorship are the two things that you can do that can help a lot of youth. From speaking in schools, like, hey, I'm such and such. I came from the same area, the same neighborhood, or a neighborhood that's similar to this. And these are the steps that I take to make it out. Because a lot of kids want to make it out. They just don't know the steps. Like, I can tell you from experience where I knew I wanted to be a pharmacist. I didn't know any pharmacists, didn't talk to any pharmacists. So I had to figure those steps out myself and was just that determined to do it. But it was times when you would stop, or I would stop and be like, is this worth it? Should I keep going?
At what age
right
did you
there,
want to be a pharmacist?
Elementary school. So, and at that age, a lot of people will hit the first brick wall and be like, you know what? I'm done with it. Not even at that age, just at any age. Anytime someone going for a goal and they don't get it on the first shot, they don't get it the first chance, the second chance, they will stop. It only takes a few to keep pushing. Like some of these kids that want to get out, they want to get out, and that opportunity came and they missed it by not showing up, not being ready, and they didn't take the time to get themselves together to do it again. They just like, yo, I guess it wasn't for me.
Yeah, I think one thing before I stop talking, the lady here was talking about, people migrating from other countries. They see nothing but opportunity here. Like obviously, every country has poverty and stuff,
Absolutely.
But when you look into like certain inner cities, I have half my family's, maybe 75% of my family's from Louisiana, and they are in poverty. They don't want to get out because the government is set to keep giving the money to stay where they're at, and they don't have to go to work. They're beating the system. Us taxpayers are giving in money for their unemployment checks for them to keep getting food stamps and stuff like that. And every child that they pop out, no matter if they're married or not, they're getting money for it, So what can we do to teach these people that, hey, look, yeah, it's cool that you living for free. You getting free food essentially, but there's better life. How do we get into those people and change their mindset for that?
So it's just about opportunity, experience. Unfortunately, it takes the right person to go into those communities, and that person who's experiencing that lifestyle has to look up to that and say, oh, I have to do better for myself. And unfortunately, not a lot of us are taking advantage of that, whether or not they see it or not. or they Google it or not. Because again, technology is out here. Again, we have the resource right in front of us. I'm pretty sure those same people have phones, and nice clothes and nice, you have the, Black people who spend their last to look fly. They die looking fly, is what I call it. But planting a seed, man, that's all it takes. It takes that right person to plant that seed. And it doesn't have to be your family member. It can be somebody. It can be your basketball coach. It just differentiates between the individual. Everybody's life is different, and their experience is different, and it just takes that right person and willpower amongst yourself to want better for yourself. And that's what she touched on, that willpower. And my whole disagreement with that is just the whole fact that, Africa teaches you that if you grew up in Africa, everyone looks like you. So you don't have that outside force on you. You still have white supremacy on you because 99% of those countries are still paying to white other countries, and they're mining their countries, they're stealing their resources. But at the end of the day, you still have people that look like you who are successful everywhere, because the majority of the people are you. And unfortunately, here in America, the majority of the people are white. And so it just takes that right person, man, and that willpower, that innate willpower within yourself to say, I want better for yourself. And that, like he said, the opportunity has to hit you, and you gotta want it. When that opportunity hit you, you can't miss out on it. You got to go for it.
I was just gonna say, to kind of touch on like what you talked about and also wrap it back into what you said earlier. A lot of it is reaching back. So like you have family who is in Louisiana, like show them. Like most of my grandma can't read or write, but she's worked a lot. My mom, out of 7 kids, was the only one who went to school. So she's the only one who made it out of the hood. And with my aunts and uncles actually seeing like how we grew up, it was rough for them, because it's like, dang, are you throwing it in my face? But it was like, no, I want you to see better so that you can do better.
Yeah.
But it's reaching back and showing, hey, I love you enough to actually give you these opportunities. So I've had cousins live with me for years growing up, because we don't want you in that situation. You got to be willing to reach back. Like, and a lot of times I think out of fear, we're not willing to reach back because we've had, if I help somebody, I'm gonna die. If I help somebody, I'm gonna get robbed. I'm gonna lose the opportunities that I had. I'm barely making it on my own, so it's hard for me to support someone else, but we have to do it.
Absolutely.
So even if it's going into the classroom, even if it's making sure that white teacher that was talking down on that Black student is fired, even if it's making sure that the politician that is removing education from our school systems is no longer a politician, like we have to actually do the work and reach back into the communities and make sure we're voting and making sure we're showing up and doing what we're supposed to do. Because we can have these conversations all day. We can be on a podcast, we can be on social media, we can be on television, we can be on the radio.
Yeah.
But if we're not showing up, then it's like you're talking and you're running your mouth with no actions. You're running in circles.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Talking without action.
And that's a good way to wrap this up.
Absolutely.
On that note.
She waited all night to speak.
But Rodney, if people want to get to know you, what?
And I only ate 3. Rodney,
We about to wrap this up. If anybody want to get to know you, want to get this book, how can they get in contact?
So you can Google BlackWash, The Untold Stories of Reverse Racism. You can look me up at rodneycloudhill.com. You can go to my Instagram, all my social medias, which is Rodney Cloudhill. It's on Amazon, it's Audible, and I also have a Kindle version. It is, just support. It is a beautiful book, and it's a lot of knowledge, and we need it. As far as the Black community, we need it to empower ourselves, because we normally see the slave submissive version of ourselves when you talk about history, besides Django, which is one of my favorite movies. And white people definitely need to see that perspective to realize exactly what we went through, because again, everything is documented facts, there's no fiction. So yeah, that's how you can support. And how do you follow you, my boy?
Okay. Yeah, you already know. Pill Talk Podcast, YouTube. You can find me on Instagram at Pill Talk Podcast. Make sure you stay tuned. I have Pill Talk Podcast episodes every Monday at 6 p.m. on YouTube. And I also do Dispenses Written first and third Wednesdays. I talk to Terry Scipio. We talk about finances, how you can invest in the stock market, how you can manage your debt, life insurance, and etc. And on the second and fourth Wednesdays, we talk to entrepreneurs and medical providers. Today we had the author, Rodney Cloudhill.
Thank you.
And we expand on what they are doing and how they're impacting people's lives. So make sure you reach out. Say giveaway.
I was saying I will sponsor 2 books.
All right, so if you reach out to me on Pill Talk Podcast or Rodney, we will give out 2 free books, autographed books by Rodney Cloudhill, BlackWash. So reach out, make sure you get your book. Promo code for the free book is BlackWash. So if you hit me up or Rodney and DM us with the word BlackWash, you will get a free book.
Absolutely. First 2 people. I'm only taking the first 2. He's only gonna take the first 2. So.
All right.
Thank you.
So another episode. See you later.